Hey, it's Mike and Blaine, and this is episode number 74. And I am Mike Cashflow Milan, and that is Blaine Birch, the CEO of Dry Run. What's up, man?
Not much, man. I'm gonna start going by Dry Run Blaine. Just be like Casual Mike and Dry Run Blaine. A little bit slicker. Uh,
I mean, how many nicknames can one person have?
yeah, I guess. I'll have to pick and run with one. Yeah, number 74, man. This is good. We were next week. I think we'll be back to live, but we've had technical issue after issue trying to go live, so we're just whatever. We'll just record for now.
We have had 2 seasons of live problems.
It has been, yeah, like
That's
71 episodes of live problems.
and kids figure this stuff out. I mean, there's kids out there that go live all the time and figure it out and have a great podcast or great live videos. What the hell's wrong with us?
Yeah, I might have to get the 4-year-old next door to be our producer.
Try like going, I'm telling you, I got a 15-year-old back there. Surely she can figure this out.
Oh yeah, you should ask because I can't figure it out.
Yeah, but she would have us doing TikTok dances or some shit like that. That's what.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's out of my scope right there.
Yeah. So hey, here's what we're going to talk about today. Since you wanted to be surprised, I mean, so those of you
Yeah,
guys listening, sometimes I tell Blaine what it is ahead of time. Sometimes I don't. Most of the times, I don't know until like 5 minutes before. I'm like going, "Oh my god, we're going to do a podcast. What are we going to talk about?" So I found a Ted Turner quote today. Right? Then I'm like going, okay,
okay.
because this is so important. I'm like, oh, let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. And it's the quote is like a nursery rhyme, so it's a little weird to say, but it's like early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise, right? By Ted Turner. I thought because now that I've launched Cashflow Mike, I'm doing a lot more advertising. I've always been part of a company that has a team. So I'm like, okay, well, I know I just kind of let them go and report on the stats. Well,
Yeah,
now I'm trying to do this myself, trying to figure it out.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
I got a lot to talk about on this because I've learned a lot of lessons in the last 3 months, especially some stuff we did too. So,
yeah.
what are you drinking today? Let's get that on the table.
Okay, so I didn't have time to run out to my favorite liquor store, but then I found out from a friend of mine there's a new liquor store in North Scottsdale called Trevor's. It's this huge place, and they got a pizza place in there. They got a little cigar lounge, makes the whole thing kind of smell a little bit. Um, but I went over there. They got a nice beer selection. I found this wicked one from Bottle Logic, and I love the can
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
she
Yeah.
shot first, and it's like I'm such a Star Wars nerd, so it's like literally like kind of a female Han Solo, which is awesome, and it's got a little space gun. She shot first, Bottle Logic, and Bottle Logic. I've had a ton of their stouts because their imperial like their barrel aged stouts are what they're known for. They're fantastic. They got a ton of them. They're really good. But I've had a few of their IPAs, and this one is actually really good. It's a nice New England style, cloudy IPA, and it's really quite good. So it was a good pick all around.
Awesome, man. I love that. And I'm telling you, there are just weeks where you and I are on like some, different wavelength. We're probably part of some simulation.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it works, man.
But all right, so I'll say I dialed it in a little bit because my dentist appointment today went long. And so I just ran into a convenience store. I'm like on whatever's cool that they have, I'm getting. And that's what we're going with today. But check this out. You said Star Wars. I went with Hop Raider. Let me see how that goes. Hop Raider IPA,
Nice.
Belgium, Voodoo Ranger, which is their skeleton series, but
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones and Star Wars today, right?
Nice.
So think about it. I'm like, how often does that happen, right? You said Star Wars. I'm like, oh my God, I went Indiana Jones. I mean,
Not only Star Wars, but that's literally like Han Solo and Indiana Jones,
yeah,
except that
same guy,
it's a
same
female
guy.
Han Solo and a skeleton Indiana Jones. But it's like that's crazy. That's oh man, there's some
This is so we're going to dedicate this edition of Mike and Blaine to Harrison Ford.
This will be the Ford episode, but the Harrison type of Ford. That's crazy, and two cool cans. Those new Belgium, like all the Voodoo Ranger cans, are so cool. I buy those just because the cans are cool and because it's
Yeah,
got the
that's
cool
why I picked it,
skeleton.
right? That's why I picked it, but it's definitely Indiana Jones. Definitely. That's what.
Definitely, yeah, and and it actually dovetails with some of our new branding where you don't have to look at our faces. We're little skeletons too, so that's kind of cool.
See, look at that. So,
Nice.
all right. So I'm telling you, I think I'm getting better feedback about the branding, right? Remember, we got a
Yeah,
little pushback from the neighborhood around here, but I
yeah,
think I'm getting better feedback now. Like going, people are getting it. They're like going, oh yeah, it's different. I'll at least look at it.
yeah. That's nice, and yeah, I've got a little bit of good feedback as well, which is kind of gratifying, and we'll see if it works. Like we'll see if we get more, more interest, more. But it feels more like when you're scanning through the podcast listings, this is what we are. We're not some buttoned up. Here's a how to do this. This is two guys drinking beer BS. That's what we are. So it feels right to me, right? We'll find our crowd.
All right. So if you haven't seen it, go to the website, mikeandblaine.com. It's there, it's top page, and you can check it out. And you know what? Tell us. If it sucks, tell us. If you love it, tell us. It doesn't matter what you think, just tell us.
Yeah, love to
Yeah.
hear from you.
Yeah, right on. So, all right, man. So this thing, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. Here's why I took away from that right off the bat
Yeah,
is you're going to do that anyway. Meaning you're going to get up early, you're going to go to bed, or go to bed early, get up early. You're going to work like hell in your business. Most people, and I think this is the biggest point, hate advertising.
yeah,
Right. Like I'm talking about the local businesses. When I was just running, little bars and restaurants, I'm like, oh shit, I just hate doing it. Right. I hate doing it because I don't know how. I can't figure it out. It's a hard skill. So I mean,
yeah, yeah.
what's been your experience with advertising and what kind of you learned over time?
Well, I find the same thing. I think it's really tough to do well, and it's really hard to give like attribution to the ad or to the advertising. It's really hard to draw a direct line to customers. It's kind of like you're looking at trends and stuff. Like it's really hard to quantify. I put that money in and I got that money out, and that's where I always find it a bit of a challenge. Um, and it's also challenging because people have a very 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 short attention span. Like you have to catch them, and it makes it really tough. So you know, through my career, we've done so much of our sales and success in our sales and our the main engine has been a lot of outbound and a lot of like even now content marketing and things, but straight up advertising, I don't think I've ever unlocked it to the degree that I would hope.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at the top of my confidence level right now in, we'll say, social media advertising. Because I
Okay.
feel like over the last 3 months, I took all the stuff I kind of knew before, like loosely knew,
Yeah.
applied it. So I think I got a little formula, and I'll talk about that later, and especially how to connect it back to dollars. But
Yeah.
here was my problem early on. Here's what I hated, right? I mean, all right, so remember how I got fired from Walgreens and my herbal supplement business, went
Yeah.
down the tubes and I lost a ton of money.
Yeah.
Spent so much money in branding. We did TV ads. We had a
Yeah.
local celebrity radio guy. You hear Joe Rogan said, I use whatever that is, natural greens or
Yeah.
whatever product he opts, during his things. We had a guy doing that, every morning on his radio show. And dude, I'm talking about 50 plus $1,000, in about
Yeah.
a 6 months time. It doesn't, the number doesn't seem like a lot unless you're a small business owner just starting out with nothing. Right.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, $50,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
And guess what? I still got fired from Walgreens. I still had to, and I'm like going, my God, if I could have just knew, again, it's what I know now, I could have used then.
Yeah.
I would have done it a lot differently, but that's
Yeah.
where my hesitancy to advertise came from early was, should I just throw money at this? I don't know what I'm doing. And that's when you waste money, when you don't know what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the world's changed even for, I don't even know if you call it, then advertising is a small fraction of promotion these days. Like what you're doing a lot of times on social networks and content marketing, and your voice. It might be like I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today, and it was he was talking about 10 to 15% of your messaging or your content, and that is actually asking for a sale. The rest of it is engaging, educating. I don't remember like all the different ways to really engage people, but um, that's so important that it's not, you're not paying to advertise as much as you need to educate, and it's just a different world now because it's cluttered with so much stuff, right? Like you're inundated with stuff.
Yeah. Well, and well, here's the thing. It's like each medium is different. The way you advertise on Facebook or Instagram is different than, I'll just say TV, radio.
Yeah,
And I'm saying TV because Hulu came out with this new self-serve ad thing where you just create a video, you can buy spots on Hulu. And I'm like, going,
mm,
that's pretty good that a small business owner now can do that
yeah,
at the same model that you have on Facebook, right? Which is I want to set a daily budget, I want to set, the audience. So it's the same kind of
mm,
platform as Facebook, but you got Hulu ads now. So I tried it.
yeah, yeah,
So I tried it in December, and I'm like going, yeah, I'm just going to throw a bunch of money at nothing. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
yeah.
I thought I had it dialed in on Facebook, and then I put a different style of ad. You remember those ads I did where the guy is like pretended to be two characters,
Yes, yeah,
right? And like one character is like going, "Oh, I'm so stressed out, this, that, and the other guy's like, "Oh, why don't you call Cashflow Mike?" But it's the
yeah,
same
yeah,
guy playing two characters, right? And
yeah.
it's kind of funny the way he does it. I put that on Hulu and got like 50, we'll say 50 or 60,000 views.
Yeah.
Probably a handful of call to actions, which I can attribute right from Hulu saying, because I only had one call to action for Hulu, which was download this free ebook, right? Which is
Yeah,
my 7-minute conversation.
yeah,
I had just a handful of downloads. I'm like going, that's not the right medium for me as a small business owner. And I cut it off and, at $500. I did spend $500 on it, but
yeah.
meaning I couldn't get people to go to the website and do what I wanted because when you're watching TV, you're not going to do that shit.
No, yeah, yeah. You're busy doing other stuff. Yeah,
And I'm like going, man, why didn't I think about that before? Because I don't do. And what's funny is I'm the guy that actually does that stuff. I'll see
yeah,
something on TV like during a commercial. I'm like, going, that's interesting. Let me go to their website.
yeah,
I kind of do that. So I thought, well, maybe if I want people like me, they'll do it. Well, 5 people did 50,000 and 473 didn't.
Well, yeah, but I think the thing is the five people that did they? Because it was basically $500, right? So you had $100 for the lead. That's kind of a heavy price unless you're,
That's too heavy for a small
yeah,
business, right?
yeah,
I mean, right now at the end of 2022,
yeah,
I posted my stats because I've got this private Facebook group called Finding Hidden Cash. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm dialing in this Facebook thing, and I posted it. I'm like, going, my cost per lead was somewhere around $2 or $3, right? $2 or $3 per
yeah.
people that gave me their email address, and my return on ad spend was $4.07. So that means every dollar I put in, I got $4 back. I'm like going,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll do that all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
January year to date, I'm less than $2 on cost per lead,
Yeah.
and I'm getting almost $12 in ads or in return.
Wow.
So I'm
Nice.
$1 in, $12 out. You know what happens when you find that magical formula? You pour gas on it, dude.
Oh
I mean,
yeah. Yeah, keep spending money there.
That works. Do, and go.
Yeah,
And later on, I'll kind of outline the kind of the formula that I used to figure it out. But man,
yeah,
it was quick. It was like less than 8 weeks, and I had it dialed in to what ad works.
yeah. Well, and I think that's the sort of appeal of not only just like social networks, but you have a group on Facebook, which means you're bringing people in, and once they're in, the ones that stick around and are active, you get to interact with them a lot because you have to have a bunch of touches, right? So all those people on Hulu, that's one touch. You need like what average 12 touches before they'll buy. That's
Exactly.
one. And there's really nowhere to go except they can maybe put in your address. But if you can get people to come into that group and get active there, you get those multiple touches and that engagement and sort of a relationship built with them. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to get them. So that's a credit to you as you have that magic where you got them coming and being active and joining the group.
Yeah, and I'm really consistent. It's called the terminology for what I'm doing is called the power of one, right? And it's one group, one offer, one call to action.
Yeah.
And you just don't what you might do is change an image. What you might do is change some verbiage in the description. But what you don't do is change like a lot of audience stuff. You don't change the offer. You don't change. You just try
Yeah.
to stay in the lane that way. And man, I'm telling you, it has really been. I have gotten more experience and learned more in the past 2 months about this area than ever before.
Yeah. That's magic. That's something we've never unlocked to definitely to those kind of metrics like that. And like with Hulu, the thing that strikes me is how customizable was it to get to the specific audience you're trying to get to, or was it just kind of wherever?
It's not right, and that's
Yeah,
Hulu. I don't think has that dialed in. It's pretty wide. It's a wide net. Like on, uh, you you have to dial it into specific genres of shows, not people.
yeah,
So I mean, think about that, right? Like, so I tried to pick news organizations. I tried to pick, what was the other one? Some documentaries, maybe sports, but things
yeah,
that I thought that business owners would be watching. I stayed away
yeah,
from like music. I stayed away from like animation. Cartoons. I mean, I tried to stay away from everything I thought wouldn't be me. And I'm
yeah,
like, going, who's my ideal person watching? But it's too broad, right? Because
yeah,
they might be watching, but they work at a plant, right? Or they just have a regular job. They're not running a business. So
yeah.
probably most of the views were wasted on people that weren't customers anyway.
Yeah. I think I probably told this story on our show before, but one of the things that I guess sort of scared me about advertising, where I learned a lot, fortunately didn't cost us really anything, um, was oh man, I don't know, it's probably 15 years ago now. We during my agency days, we were a major sponsor for the Edmonton International Fringe Festival, which is this big theater and music or like street performers and all this giant uh, festival. And I don't know how many people go through there. I think in the week it's like they say they have like a million people go through or something. It's enormous, right? It's really well known. And we had sort of a deal where we would be like we developed a bunch of materials. We were compensated for some of it, and then some of it was sort of partial sponsorship. But as part of the sponsorship, we got the centerpiece 2-page full color spread in the guide that had all of the shows.
Yes.
So everybody got one of these bloody things, right?
Yeah.
And we thought, well, we had the at the time we had a mobile app was number one in our list, like in the sector. It was already selling really well. Like throw fuel on the fire. We're gonna sell 1 billion of these. And so we had this 2-page full color beautiful spread promoting our app and crickets. We were still selling good. Like
Yeah.
we sold a ton of that app. We were like literally the top of our category, but it was totally flat. I don't think we sold a single one. And I
Mm.
think that's when I learned I'm like, you can't just buy it. Like you have to be the right audience with the right message at the right time and give them a way to take action on it. And we kind of like did all that wrong. And that's, that was, I learned a lot from that. I didn't learn how to be successful. I just learned how to really be shitty at it.
Well, there's two exercises I go through that I think help me with writing copy, right? And one of them is it's called just, most people call it an elevator pitch, but it's like going, you got to figure that out for you, which is I help this type of person, with this, in my case, achieve this type of skill so they can do this type of thing without feeling this type of pain, right?
Yeah.
By using my method, right? That's kind of the formula that I come up with on what I am, so it sounds like, cash flow Mike, I help small business owners and accountants, actually make more, keep more, and grow more money in their business, right? So they can actually have a lifestyle friendly business that propels them into the future without anxiety, losing sleep, at the same time, wondering if they can pay bills, right? By using my clear path to cash method, cash method,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I mean, once I know that, if I can say that to myself and just internalize it, then telling my story in advertising became easier. And I boiled it down to two things that you have to tell people when you're advertising. One is, what is the promise you deliver? Two is, why should they get it from you? Right. So, and some people say that it's value proposition is the promise, and competitive advantage is why they buy it from you. But that's the technical stuff. But answer those two questions in your ads. What do you do? Why get it from you?
Yeah. The value you deliver and how you're different from the competition. Like that's really um, the crux of it. But one of the things we've been spending a lot of time on lately is talking with and interviewing customers, and it's brought a real discipline to understanding, well, how do they talk about it? And when I say how do they talk about it, because the first thing they do is like you hear what they say and then you pretty it up, you clean it up, you know. And when we started talking with numerous clients, you start going, we should be prettying it up. Use their language and their words, and they're saying the same bloody thing. Like one of the things we know that our customers really struggle with is kind of the peaks and valleys. And over again, feast and famine, feast and famine, feast and famine, lumpy, peaks and valleys, feast and famine. Like it's not capacity issues, it's feast and famine. That's what they keep saying, it's feast and famine. And this kind of idea that that's the problem, that's the problem they have, and they feel it's inevitable. And what we say is no, if you're projecting into the future, you can identify the peaks and valleys, the feast and famines, the highs and lows before they hit. And if you can do that in your sales pipeline and your cash flow, you can smooth it out. You can start backfilling. You can move things around. You can start smoothing that out. And by the end of the year, it's going to make you like $250,000. You're going to make a ton of money if you smooth that out. But is hearing from in their words over and over again, where we said, that's the ticket. We have to talk with them in their voice.
Yeah, right. So my friend Breger, right down the road, he and his family, his father or whatever, they came up with these eclipse glasses. Have you seen this? Where you can
So,
look at a solar eclipse or whatever through these glasses and it doesn't burn your eyes. I mean, serious. And they're disposable. They're like, you
yeah,
can buy them. They're pretty cheap. They're, I don't know. We're talking dollars, not hundreds of dollars, right? Just, 5, 10, $15.
yeah,
And this is an amazing thing. I mean, think about that. They have a product that everybody's like going, hey, do you want to see a solar eclipse without burning your eyes? I mean, that's their pitch.
yeah.
Because it has everything. It's like, we have the best product to look at that thing, a phenomenon that happens that everybody is curious about. Oh, and by the way, you won't hurt yourself when you do it.
Now, solar eclipses don't happen very often, though, so that seems like a tough market. But
Well, that's why it's a side hustle for him. I mean, but
yeah,
it's one of those things where it does happen more often than you think, just not in where you're located,
Yeah.
right? These things happen all around the globe, right? So I think they're on Amazon or they're on, different places like that.
Okay. Yeah.
There's different time frames when people buy it. So it might happen a few times a year. Think
Oh,
about
didn't know that. Okay. Yeah.
Huh? And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, Breger, I know you're probably going to listen to this on the way to work, and you're going to go, Mike, you don't know shit about solar eclipses. I'm going, you're right, but I'm going to say somebody around the world may be experiencing it in India or Russia or China or Dallas. It's
Yeah.
maybe more than once a year. I think this happens.
Yeah, it very well could. I don't know anything about it. I just thought it was like a once in every 10 years for everybody. But no, it probably isn't. I just have no idea. I don't know anything about
No,
it.
but probably a full. So, but I think there's
Yeah.
partials, right? There's also
Okay.
ellipses and things like that. Uh, who knows? But they seem to think, and if I remember him telling me right, in the next year or two, there's another big one coming up. So
Okay.
they ramp up to it. But I'm like going, how cool is that? I mean, but you have to start advertising it like a few months ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because you want people to go, oh, this is coming up. The big one's coming up. You're going to want it. Maybe I'll sell a
Yeah.
million of these glasses in one shot. But you got to start advertising it well in advance
Yeah.
and start getting orders well in advance because you don't want everybody to flood you the week before the eclipse, right? Or you won't be able to
Yeah.
keep up capacity. So you need to be starting to advertise it, getting people like, oh yeah, it is coming up. I better get my glasses now and not
Yeah.
wait.
Well, and you have to educate them because probably most of them don't even know it's there. I will
Yeah.
tell you though, when you said Breger's doing like eclipse glasses, I was like literally immediately like, I wonder what shape that glass is. Like I totally was thinking, and when you said Eclipse, I was like, I just bought some Equilibrium beer in the fridge. And immediately I thought of a brewery named Eclipse. I don't even know if probably was thinking of Equilibrium. I'm like, wow, I wonder what that glass does. And then you started talking about the sun, and I was totally lost for a second there. But I was all excited about the new beer glass for a minute there.
All right, Breger,
Maybe he can expand.
Breger, a new business venture for you is to come up with the eclipse glass.
The Eclipse glass. So you put your glasses on and you drink your beer, and I don't know, maybe it's like doesn't reflect it out of your beer into your eyes. I'm not sure. Like,
Or we just use it down here at the house every day.
yeah, just,
Eclipse or not.
yeah, like there's got to be some hack you can do in a glass that sounds like it makes sense for that.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm convinced nobody picked up on my taco truck, or not taco truck, food truck idea for being able to bring food trucks into one menu, right? Where I can go, oh, I want a food truck for my party. Do I want Italian? Do I want American deli? Do I want taco? Whatever it is. Nobody picked up on that. I haven't seen it yet.
No, I did hear. I think it was a Guy Raz. How I built this? There was some business that started that they were doing basically like Uber Eats, but they cook right outside your house. So they drive to your house, they get a little kitchen and a little van, and it was connected with high-end restaurants. And so you would cook like the steak and everything, bring it right up to the door so that it was actually fresh and hot when you got
Yeah,
it.
you cannot make money that way. You can, you know, uh, a family of four cook four meals from a high end restaurant in front of your house. I don't think you make money.
Well, he had the economics figured out. So there must be some way that they're making money. And I was like, man, I wonder if it's Phoenix. I want to try that. But I think partly because it was a high, if it was a high um, like a well-known restaurant, you probably are charging premium prices. So you maybe have that room to move. But
It's almost got to be like a 400% markup. I would think what it cost you in the restaurant, it's almost got to be four times as much in front of your house.
it could be. I don't remember the details, but he had figured out. There was something though that it was they had it set up so it was I think it was like sous vide steak and things like that, so that it wasn't like you show up and you kind of like you do your last part of the cooking. You didn't have to have a chef to do it because they could all be trained because it was all like process driven. I can't remember the name of the company, but I think it was on How I Built This, and if it's on there, the guy's done something. So you might want to check that out because it was kind of interesting.
That's cool. All right. So speaking of Breger, the other day I was talking to him, and he said he heard the episode where I left to get a bottle opener, and you just had to talk by yourself. I thought you were cutting that out. I thought you were cutting that out.
Was it live or did I forget to cut it out? I
No,
don't even know what episode that
no,
was.
he didn't see it live. He saw it recorded. So that,
Okay, I probably just totally forgot because half the time I cut the episode a week later. I have no idea what episode that is, and I'm not listening through them all to find it.
because I was like going, it's almost like coffee talk, like going, okay, hey, I'm a little verklempt, talk amongst yourselves. I went and got, I went and got a bottle opener because whatever I bought that week, I couldn't open it with my hand.
I should if we have to cut something out in the future, especially if we're doing it live, I'll have to like actually put a note like somewhere, a sticky note to say, don't forget to cut that because I have no idea which episode that would be. So, um, Breaker, if you remember what number it was, please let me know. I don't expect you to remember, but I'm like, I have no idea.
I don't think you can cut it now. Now that I've mentioned it online, or on air in a future episode from that one, I think you have to go and leave it because people will go, well, which one was that? And they'll go back and try to find it.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's that entertaining though. If it was me off the cuff trying to remember how to do that. Well, like I, it's almost like how it's like on TV or movies they'll say like I know 30 ways to kill a man. I'm the opposite. Like I know 30 ways to open a beer bottle. Like probably open about 40 things within hand like right now. Like I could always open a beer. Like I
Huh, that's
don't need much.
funny. So, hey, tell us about dry run real quick. Let's take a little break. Tell us about dry run.
Yeah, for sure. So again, we don't have anything prepared for promo, but I think it's actually better if I just sort of talk off the cuff. You know what? I was talking a little bit before about in the episode about our customers saying like the feast and famine, the peaks and valleys, and things like that. That's something that we help a lot with, and I can remember back in my agency days after what happened was he got a bunch of information, a bunch of different systems. So it's like we got our invoices over here, and we got our kind of the list of potential sales over here, and we've got our expenses and a budget over here, all this stuff, and none of it connects. And I started to build out this epic spreadsheet where I could actually see our cash flow, our sales pipeline, our expenses, our goals for the year, or this, that, and the other. And there was a point where I looked down and realized we had left hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. And I'll remember that day, like that was 15 years ago, 10 years, a long time ago. And I can still remember the way the desk even looked. And I had this piece of paper there. And I looked at the bottom and it was just like, oh my God, we've
Hmm.
left so much money on the table. And like you do the find hidden cash. There is a lot of ways cash leaks at the bottom of a business. And so that's just critical. For us, there were just some really simple fundamental parts that were the big movers. And one of them was when we had a really unpredictable sales pipeline. So in other words, that feast and famine I was talking about, you could be sitting there for a month and you weren't selling enough because you were super busy and now your staff is sitting idle. And if you can imagine several months a year where your staff are sitting and realistically 50% are billable hours for what you should be doing, they all try and look busy and shit like that, but really, in the end, you're chopping that off. And then you'll have a month where you're completely overwhelmed, and now you're hiring contractors, maybe paying overtime. That's when mistakes happen, and that's also when no sales happen because everybody, like now, it's like all hands on deck, and I'm chipping in to help. And then inevitably, you're going to get a trough again. And when I started to be able to see that far enough out, and I could see our cash flow, see our sales pipeline on a timeline, and understand where we're going, and have that visibility forward, we could recognize those parts. And if we think we're going to have a slow month, it's on the horn with some of our past customers, and it's like, let's get one of these quick little jobs in. We can top that up, and then we'd see a really busy month, and I could phone my customers and negotiate to, hey, are you ready? We could start that a bit earlier if you're ready. Or, hey, do you really need that? I know you're not, launching that till fall. What if we push it back a month? Give us both a little breathing room. I would negotiate all of that, smooth out that sales pipeline, And suddenly you make a lot more money, you're a lot more profitable, and your team isn't overwhelmed, but they're also not sitting on their hands with nothing to do. So that's one of the real big things that we can help you with Dryroom. We take all of this stuff from all these different systems, we pull it in, and we give you that single source of truth, clear, simple, no BS. Here's where you're going, and we give you that actionable stuff that you can do to help smooth that out.
Yeah, cool, man. Love it. Love it. Hey, and by the way, I was introduced and he became a client actually to a CPA in Houston this last week,
Hmm.
probably 2 weeks ago now. And he knows of this podcast, and I think he has your book.
Oh, nice.
Cash flow, yeah, yeah, because he was
There you go. Yeah.
asking about pandemic cash flow, and we laughed about the connection that you wrote that.
Before the pandemic. Yeah. It's
Well,
so lame. Yeah.
pandemic,
And I
yeah,
can't really change the name now, but it's so lame because that book came out before the pandemic, and all of a sudden it's like the pandemic ruined the name of my book. So I know that's probably not a huge deal in terms of pandemic.
yeah,
Sucks for me, but yeah, and and that book is that that book is written more for business owners because as we talk with business owners, I'm like, I'll be, we were talking about like this capacity and stuff this week, and they're just like, oh man, we got to do a whole bunch of education here because there's ways we can help you guys. But that book's a very fundamental. What are the nuts and bolts of your cash flow and your sales pipeline? How are some simple ways to get going? So hopefully the CPA found it interesting. I know it's like from a finance perspective, it's not, of course, where they're at, but I hope it helps them give an appreciation on this is where a lot of your business owners are starting at. Um, they're trying to understand their finances and figure out where they're going, and hopefully get some insight on that.
yeah, very cool. So, Larry, if you're out there and you're listening to this, yeah, it's a plug out to you, man. Good job. I mean, because he really, I mean, he dug in. He knew all kinds of stuff, whatever podcast I've been on, and you have to appreciate customers that do that type of research before they invest in. Right? Like,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
just he really dug in. He listened to podcasts. He, listened to this one and other interviews I've done. Already had your book. And then he's starting to put all these pieces together. Oh, he knows him. They wrote these two books. They do a podcast together. Super cool to see that connection being made.
yeah. That's one of the fun things is when I run into people and they're quoting or talking about a specific episode. I think that's really fun. It's not like I listen to your podcast, like, hey, on episode such and such, you said this. I was like, oh, I think that's awesome. I love that.
I'm like going, I did. Hey, I'm drinking during that.
Well, for instance, when you said, remember that time that I went to get a bottle opener, and I'm like, sort of, but I didn't even remember enough to cut that out. So that's not good.
Hey, actually, because he said that, I'm like going, yeah, I told him to cut that out. You saw it?
Yeah,
I did
that's
remember that. Right.
that fell between the cracks. So anyway, so is it, or do you want to talk about your cash flow mic stuff? You definitely give it a little boost. We don't have to bounce back and forth. I don't think we've ever done that. Let's just go for it.
You know what? I mean, what I'm really excited about right now is this done with you accounting advisory services packages. Because like you're like going, you don't build anything until you talk to the market. And
Yeah,
every accountant I was talking to was like going, I'm being pushed into being an advisor, right? I have to offer advisory services. And there were two major themes that came out from my conversation. One was, I don't know how to do it. Right? I don't know how to get started. I don't have a program in place. I wish there was something that just step one, step two, step three, and here's how you do it. And then two, I don't have the confidence to actually look at numbers and tell somebody what to do next. I'm good at putting all the numbers together, but I can't do the interpretation to tell somebody how to run their business next. So I built this program called Pathfinder that I'm getting ready to roll out. And it's an all-in-one advisory services program for those people that have those problems, which is you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to get started. I do it with you. Matter of fact, I'm even now part of the program. I come to your place one day on site at the end of it to make sure you have it all together, and I'll help you sell a client, right? You bring them in, I help you pitch your new service to them, so you're not doing it by yourself. That's optional. You just pay for the travel out there, right? Pay for the travel. Hey, come out, make sure that I go through an audit list. You have X, Y, and Z. We sell a client. Everybody's happy. We leave. So that's my new program. This Pathfinder program is getting a lot of attention.
Nice.
It seems like I'm getting more and more people just reaching out. Hey, I heard about this. What are you doing? Well, because they already know about the clear path to cash. That's foundational. I have to teach you the clear path to cash, and then I can add over the top, here's how to build your program and execute it.
Yeah, yeah, nice. And you know what? They need that. They need because it is a big and hard transition to get into advisory. And I'm going to tell you, okay, if you're a CPA out there listening, I'm going to tell you two quick little snippets here that is going to tell you where you have to go as an advisor. So number one, we have a client. There was like a business owner, but there was also a CPA working with them, and the CPA was came to us and was complaining because there was one of the accounts in like 4 months ago or 5 months ago was out by, I think it was like $2 or something, like $3 from what they saw in their accounting software. Now, this is probably just a miss. Like we didn't do that. We just imported, so it's probably a little bug somewhere. But this was about a $5 million company.
Oh, wow.
And the obsession was you're out by $2 in an account 4 months ago. Now, talking with one of our customers yesterday, and they were just so excited about us, and like what we do. And one of the comments was, well, yeah, like you're looking forward. It's never exact. Some months you're out $1,000, some months you're out $5,000. It doesn't matter. You're in the ballpark. The big thing is, we know where we're going, right? So like that was the gist of it. So that's what the business owner needs. They just need some way forward. It's a forecast. You're not going to be exact, but they're flying completely blind right now. Do not get buried in the past. That's accounting. That's bookkeeping. That is not helping them figure out where they're going and make the fundamental changes in their business.
Yeah, but don't you think though it's a new skill, meaning that they've always done bookkeeping, they've always done kind of accounting, they've always filled out reports for taxes and found if we classify this transaction as that, we get a tax credit, right? Or reduce your taxes. Yeah. This is new. This is like what used to happen. This is what used to happen in large companies. You have a CFO or some type of financial controls team that actually interprets the financial data coming in.
Yeah.
What I like about what's happening now is that there is some basic concepts and calculations that everyone can do to at least point you in the right direction.
Yeah, but that's I think the important part is this pointing in the right direction. This is not penny perfect anything. When you're doing advisory, it's all about where you're going. It's not going to be perfect. So, and it's going to be hard to let go of that when you've been focused on penny perfect. That's your entire job. It's going to be kind of going from whatever right side of brain to left side or vice versa. It's like now you're using the other side to go a little bit more creative of where are you going. And so it's but it's just interesting different mindsets, right?
That's funny you said right side, left side. Part of what I teach is that social styles model. Have you ever heard of that, where it's driver, expressive, amiable, or analytical? And we all kind of fall in one of those categories at any given point in time. And usually our main personality is a mix. We might be expressive, we might be driver. But what happens is if you graph these out, think about a square. On the right side is drivers up in the top right corner, expressives in the bottom right corner, amiables in the bottom left corner, analyticals in the top left corner, right? So think about that box. 80% of business owners is what they say are drivers or expressive personalities, right? They got the idea, they want to do shit, they want to, make things happen and get things done. Yep. What's interesting is that 80% of bankers and accountants are the other side, the left,
Okay. Yeah.
which is the amiables and the analyticals. Like on that's where you hear like paralysis by analysis, right? You're like going,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but I just don't have enough information to make a decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that type of thing. So it's an interesting conversation to have between those two groups, the accountants and the
Yeah.
business owners, because they're at odds every single
Yeah.
day they talk.
And like, okay, I'm going to circle back to our topic here because we probably veered off a little bit. But if you're like, this is a perfect example of if a CPA is advertising, it's not like if they want to advertise advisory services, it's not like advisory services. We're going to show you what happened in the past and it's going to be petty perfect. Like that's where they have to understand their customer, how their customer thinks, how their customer talks, solve that customer's problem, and make sure that you're communicating that you're messaging to that problem.
And I don't think the main problem is pay less tax.
Mm,
Right? The main problem is make more
no,
money, and then we
yeah,
can pay less tax.
yeah. That's a separate. It's a separate service. It's a separate thing. Like it cuts. I still need all my accounting done. I need my taxes done. Everything else, yeah. Like, but that is a completely separate thing. It's going to be a hard transition because they're not connected in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. It's that different, right?
Well, my main problem with my accountant was just that. I'm like, going, okay, this is great. What do I do? And he
Yeah,
had no idea what to do next.
yeah. I
I'm like, well, I can do math. You just told me the calculation you used. I can do math. What do I do next? He couldn't
yeah.
interpret.
I distinctly remember an accountant, like this is a long time ago in a previous business, but I do remember one time literally firing an accountant that he literally was, well, what do you guys want to do? We're here to hear what we're like. It was unbelievable how opposite. We're like, you're the expert, you tell us. And went and found a different accountant
Yeah.
because of that, right?
So, all right. So back on topic. What would you say to the small business owner that is resistant to advertising?
Oh man, you know what? You'll probably disagree with me, but that's not a bad thing. Be resistant to advertising because what that'll do is it'll give you, I think, the discipline to do it carefully and test it and validate it. Exactly what you did. So because like on the one side, it's like your Walgreens hangover drug or whatever it was or supplement. Um, you know it like that didn't work and you put a lot of money into it. But then on the other side, what you've done now is you were very focused on what you're doing. You had planned it out. You messaged right. You knew who you were going for, but you tested it. And as soon as you found one that was working, then you doubled down, tripled down. That's how you do it, right? So be careful about it.
Yeah, I think that's right. Right. I mean, you have to be careful because you can overspend really fast on bad messaging.
Yeah,
Things that don't resonate with other people. And it can't always be, well, this is what I would do. Like my Hulu example, right? Well, this is what I would
yeah.
do. I would caution people now. It's not about you. You're not the customer.
Never about you. Never ever about you. It's it's all about the customer understanding them and understanding their problem and getting to the people that have that problem with your answer. And that's man, you can that's I think been shown over and over again. There you can't buy sales. You could literally do a $10 million ad, and if it's in the wrong place to the wrong people, you will make zero. You'll have crickets. And if it's in the right place, right people, right time, right message, solving the right problem, you could spend $100 and make 1,000.
There's no better test than that than Super Bowl ads.
Yeah,
If you're looking for proof, right? You can't buy, sales.
yeah,
I could spend and get on the world's biggest stage, from an advertising standpoint, and fail as a company. And we don't have that. I don't have that in front of me where the stats are, but I'm willing to bet there are several companies that advertised on the Super Bowl that have failed already.
Oh, I would, yeah, absolutely. And there's others that they want to, they want to push their brand, and I think they probably see it as a real, I don't know, feat to have a Super Bowl ad, but really they'll never make their money back off of it. Like it's just, they'll never make their money back off of it. But if they're a big enough business to absorb it, I guess, well, they don't really care.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what's your advice then? Let's talk about a company that does maybe $1 million, right? And most
Yeah.
of their business is local. We're not, because everything we've talked about so far is like you and I trying to sell software. Anybody in the world can buy it. You know,
Yeah.
when I did recover, I was in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states or whatever, right? I mean, meaning the herbal supplement. But
Yeah.
let's narrow it down to where I'm on Main Street, in Awesomeville, USA. What should I be doing in your mind?
Oh boy, do your research. Like that's the thing. Like I couldn't even. We do, like you said, it's global and it's a completely different thing. Um, the worst thing you can do is someone comes in and of course, they're trying to sell their ad space, and it sounds like they'll make it sound amazing. Guaranteed, there's a good chance they'll make $0 off of it. I think you have to be much more strategic. Don't let it walk in the door for you. Do your research. Start with research on how for a local business selling to a local area, the this type of market, this type of customer. Know your customer, know those problems inside out. But honestly, the other thing is you may want to look for an expert, and it doesn't mean you just hire somebody that has a marketing 101 degree. You need someone that is an expert in either like your your type of business, like as a local restaurant. Okay, who does local restaurants? Awesome. And can I talk with people that have already used them and they can validate that that works? So do your homework. Do your homework, or you can waste a lot of money. It's still hard at that point.
Yeah, well, there's another thing. I mean, like if you're just now starting out, we're saying maybe you don't even have a location yet, right? Have you ever heard of the cluster theory of business?
Yep.
Right. So I mean, and if you've never heard about it and you're on the you're out there in the world listening to this podcast, everybody has a road in their town where you go to buy a car.
Yeah.
It's like one road, there's like 10 car dealerships, or if
Groups of restaurants.
groups of restaurants,
Yep.
or Lowe's and Home Depot generally are pretty
Yep.
close together because people shop and compare. The
Yep.
cluster theory is a way to minimize your advertising spend, meaning that you really start to compete on who you are, your service, your product, your good, doesn't matter. Like me with restaurants and bars, other people's advertising would bring people to the area, but you could walk right next door to my place. All I got to do is be better than the guy next door is doing advertising.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. So, I mean, the cluster theory works. So, if you're right now looking for a place to go and you want to minimize your advertising spend on a hyper local level, find a location that's within a cluster.
Yeah. The thing that we won't get into it today, but it could be a topic for another day, is do all businesses still need to advertise? Because there's other ways to get, like I'm talking like the strict definition of advertising versus like marketing, referral, social media, just outside of, do you have to buy ads? Do you have to buy ad space?
All right. So, I don't know that I've ever seen an advertisement outside of maybe an email because I'm on the list already from my dentist I just went to today. I'm like, I don't think they need to advertise because they're in a great location. They just say dentist. It says Hollywood Park Dentist, and they're in that area, the neighborhood called Hollywood Park. Do they have to advertise? Always people in there. Always. I mean, I walked out today and I saw every bay somebody's mouth was getting worked on.
Oh, there you go.
Like, I do they even advertise? I've never seen an advertisement for them. I'm sure they do, but I don't know where it is.
Maybe, but maybe they don't. And I'm just talking about like because we're talking about when you said that quote, I pictured a guy with a fedora and a suit, and it felt like that seems kind of old school. And so it's curious that there's some models that is that if it's all like can you do it all in outbound, or can you do like is advertising in a strict sense of buying ad space, not not spending a dime but building it through social media, through content. Like there's other ways to draw in your customer without actually spending dollars to place an ad somewhere.
Yeah, that's interesting. From a startup or something that's already established?
I think it has more to do maybe with the actual business model and their market and everything else, because it's different now. It's not like three channels on TV and a local newspaper. Now it's that people come to you, they'll go look, they search for stuff. They're places where you can maybe be in the mix. I'm not sure. I'm just bringing that up.
I would argue that if you have a physical location, your sign out front is the best advertising you're ever going to get. People just drive by like going, "Oh, I need a brake job," or "I need a,
Yeah,
I want liquor," whatever it says
yeah,
up front, right? I mean, it's that's your best advertising you got.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
outside of now, what you're saying is the online presence. Can you do it if you have a network and an offering that's so awesome? I mean, think about these influencers. How do people find an influencer? They don't advertise for themselves, they advertise for others.
Yeah.
How did they become that? They didn't advertise, hey, pick me, I'm an influencer and I will promote your product. How did that happen? Because that's a business.
I don't know. As soon as you say influencer, the hair on the back of my neck stands up. Like, oh God, we're not getting into influencers, right? Like,
Unfortunately, that's real life today. I don't know how many products I have in my house because Courtney sees an influencer say something, and she goes, "Hell, that's cool. Let's get it." And she'll get it, and it'll show up, and I'm going, "Yeah, that's really cool." How did they know that? How did she find the influencer to begin with?
I have no idea. That whole area is a mystery to me, and I don't know. Maybe we have an influencer listening to our show. You can come and tell us all about it, because it just feels like just complete fogginess to me.
Yeah. So, hey, what'd you learn today? Anything?
Oh, we were all over the place today, but
We're
no,
all over the place every day.
and we never even got into get up early and go to bed early. Um, no, no, it was interesting. I was really interested to hear how your advertising works and how you got a funnel sort of working. And I know we both had things that have not worked and cost a lot of money. I've blown lots of money on ads that have not worked at all. And then sometimes you get things that work. And um, I think it's just a good reminder that you can't just simply throw money at something and it's going to work. It has to be very strategic, very tactical. Make sure you're hitting on all levels of the bigger picture, all the way down to how you're executing, because it's hard enough to get this to work, right?
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I'll tell you, I'm walking away from this episode with that question you have in mind. Is there a business out there that doesn't have to advertise? And if so, what is it? What is it and how do they do it? So
Yeah,
now
and I'm saying a strict thing about advertising is paying for space and some other thing like, you know, but like you said, the influencers, they charge. They probably didn't pay any money to actually. They didn't advertise, I don't think, to actually get to the position they're in. So
yeah, right.
I don't know. Weird.
All right. So, hey, you have been listening to Mike and Blaine. This is episode number 74, and we talked all about advertising. If you haven't already, go to mikeandblaine.com. Go to YouTube, Mike and Blaine's YouTube channel, and subscribe. That's what you got to do. What are you going to add to that, Blaine? I kind of stole your thunder about the subscribe thing.
Oh no, please do. And obviously every other platform. You might just be listening to us and not looking at our ugly mugs. So if you are, make sure you subscribe to us on whatever you're on, Apple, Spotify. We're on everything. Let us know what you think of the show. Reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
Right on. Hey, good one. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.